How you doing? How you doing? How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Petty, and it's your boy Izziani. You want to say what's up, brother?
Hey, how you guys doing? It's Izzy. Glad to be here with you, Petty.
Appreciate y'all appreciate you being on, brother. Definitely appreciate you being on. You sent me a just absolutely insane amount of information to the point where it took me about a solid 4 to 5 hours today to put it all together in Photoshop.
Yeah,
so
man, I
definitely.
apologize about that.
Oh, no worries, man. No worries. I've said it on the channel before, and I'll say it a million more times. I love when people hit me with paragraphs and paragraphs of information. There's so much to this game and so much good information that is hard to find at times that, I love it when people bust out paragraphs. And yeah, and it'll definitely help just to have you on the video with us and talking through some of this because we have quite a good amount to go over.
Yeah, we do. I kind of want to make this very thorough, just because I know on the last video that we made for the fighter guide,
Mm-hmm.
there was some stuff that was missed out. But I mean, I would treat that fighter guide, just for those that maybe may not know, as a beginner's guide. We will touch base on certain stuff that will look very much the same as what was shown on the other one.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And if you guys watch any other content creators, the first week of class is out, you'll see a class guide, and then about 2 weeks later, you'll see a couple more class guides coming out. It's just the nature of the beast. After playing with it for a while, we figure out a couple of new tips and tricks, new directions to go in, or things to consider, and we just update the community. Before we get too
Right.
far into all of that, there is something that I want to touch on real quick. So someone left a comment recently on one of my videos. Our boy Ian Raphael, great name, love the name Ian. That's my actual name for all those people that haven't found me on the Dragon Raja Facebook groups yet. But he basically says, "Hello, Petty. I've been following your channel and advice since the starting DR on the SEA server. I got into a very different opinions regarding stats. I main BM and I want to ask, is physical attack, physical defense, magic defense important? I got a pro from EU server telling me that it's not that important because physical attack is mainly for your auto attack, and that physical and magical defense just make auto attack damage lower. Real quick before even finishing that whole thing, that's just flat out incorrect, and that's kind of, and I'm not mad at the person that gave this man this advice and everything like that, because there is a lot of information that is very hard to determine in this game. There's a certain level of information obfuscation that just prevents us from being able to hardline be able to determine a lot of different things. Like our stats, they don't tell us what the percentages are, they just give us numbers, and then we're kind of just guessing to see how much we're popping up. CDR, you're able to graph a little bit more in detail, but even then that's just a slightly higher educated guess. That's not us knowing what the actual percentages are and everything. So because all that information is difficult to find, you're going to get a lot of advice or see a lot of advice sometimes with this game that is going to be incorrect, and it's not necessarily the person's fault, or I don't hold them accountable, because I've been wrong about tons of stuff in this game, but information is intentionally hard to find. So I just want you guys to keep that in mind while we're going through everything. Just to finish off guy's comment and answer his question, however, the skills damage comes from elemental attack, which is why he recommended me to focus on elemental defense but not much on physical and magical defense, as well as my fire attack instead of physical attack. Can you clarify on this? Because the importance of physical attack, elemental attack, defense, and elemental defense, they're really confused now. And I kind of understand why. So just to answer your question real quick, bud, no, physical attack factors into the part of the equation. It comes off of what your base damage is going into, and then your attack damage is added, or your skill damage is added into that. And essentially that, no, your physical attack is going to raise all of your attack damage. It's just not raising it the same percentage or ratio that elemental attack is. That's going to increase the skill damage itself, but there's still multiple parts of that equation. Anything else you want to touch on, Izzy?
No, you pretty much got it all accurate. Like you said, overall, and when I just to clarify on overall, I mean we're also including allies. And then just other things that could combo into that physical attack, because there's also other buffs that could go into that. I mean, you have some of the small buffs in the game, like such as the berries and the candies that you can win from certain events,
Mm-hmm.
or get or achieve from certain packets that you open up. So that all factors in.
I gotcha. I gotcha. Um, and also in terms of the elemental defenses, really the only elemental defense that you want to focus on, because substats are, you have to prioritize them heavily, and you don't have a whole lot of space. So you don't want to go for elemental defenses of every variation. You want to go for elemental defenses for whatever your hardest counter is. So say Blade Master, for instance, the thing that's going to give you the most trouble is other Blade Masters and fighters. So you would want to stack fire defense. So you want to use that kind of logic when evaluating when to pick up an elemental defense or not. Is there a class you have really hard trouble with? Okay, you might want some of that elemental defense. But even then, I don't know how high I would personally rate it. Sure, everyone's going to have a little bit of a difference of opinion there.
If I could just add maybe just an opinion now that you
Yeah.
kind of talked about that. Well, if you just notice real quick, you have Blade Master and the Fighter both using fire attack. So that's basically kind of like a 2-for-1 if you wanted to counter off on the defense for fire.
Right.
Um, so I just look for little things like that, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. No, that
That you could
definitely.
benefit the most from.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, I definitely feel you. If you can get value in more than one place from a stat, that definitely makes it a lot more valuable than some of the others. But let's go ahead and jump into the slides and everything. So we're gonna start with the PVE build.
Okay.
I'll let you go ahead and get that picture pulled up.
Yeah, no,
And
I got it.
okay, okay. And the way that these first couple of slides are going to work is we're going to show you the overalls of the builds. Then a couple of slides later, we'll touch more on some stats for them, and then we'll wrap it up with touching on some allies stuff for all of them. So Izzy, is there any comments that you want to make on this build?
Yeah, the PvE build, it just varies. I know I had mentioned it before, personally to you,
Mm-hmm.
that I use Thunderclap as the X skill. Now you could switch it off to Scorch. It's just more of a useful skill just because of the cooldown that it has. I
Mm-hmm.
looked into the more advanced X skills that there are, and pretty much the basically end game, we could call end game X skills, or the breakthroughs, the God
Mm-hmm.
tiers, what they call them. And it seems like it keeps the same CD duration. And so the CD duration for Scorch is 30 seconds. Or no, well, not the duration, but the cooldown of it is 30 seconds, and then
Right.
the skill for Thunderclap is 45. So I just kind of alternate between both of them, depending exactly what type of I guess what I'm going to be doing, whether it's going to be in an event or just within the map or whatever, you know.
I feel you. I feel you.
Other than that, everything looks good. Everything should be quite accurate on this. Yeah.
So we're obviously favoring being in the robot more often than necessarily going with critical points. So real quick, just to kind of touch on something if you hadn't seen our last fighter video and then the video that we did on the fighter bug and everything. Critical point then and still currently now. When you go into your robot form, you do a lot more damage than the skill description says you should be doing. Um, and we've got a whole video on that if you guys want to go check that one out and everything and kind of get an idea of on that. Um, but would you say that it's basically either switching, running synchronization or putting in critical point for that S talent for the PVE build, or would you still
Uh,
consistently go with synchronize?
okay, so the PvP build or PvE build was based to do the most amount of damage as fast as possible. And so I chose synchronization just because of the amount of energy that you're going to be building.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look into the other deep talents that will come later on, it'll actually be able to help you increase that energy much more faster. I mean, we're talking about a pace where you could literally almost spam to be inside the robot later
Oh,
through on
Jesus.
other levels past 100 or 105, I think. So, I mean, it gets really ridiculous on the amount of energy that you will be building up. So that's what I try to focus on the PvE build, just something that's just super quick, efficient, and then just, I guess, explosive at the same time.
Okay. Okay. I feel you. I feel you. I definitely know once we get into some of the allies and everything, there's a little bit more variation if you're looking for, burst DPS or more sustained and everything. But as far as the talents and skills go, pretty solid, pretty solid.
Okay.
Any final notes on this one before we pop to the next one?
No. And then, okay, so if you look at the PvE build from, I guess, from what we have showing or displaying on this from the other video,
Mm-hmm.
uh, you will see that the runes were changed. I know I had them not on the green. And so just to,
Mm-hmm.
I guess, just touch upon this real quick because you will be seeing this setup on the on the I guess I call them runes, but really they're called refined device talents. Um, and so I had them between the red and blue, but for the purpose for why they're in green, for those of you that do not know or probably haven't seen this information anywhere else, is technically because of the very last skill that you can see or that you can reach on the green. If you just go 1, 2, and 3, see that third one, it'll add a 2% to
Efficiency.
efficiency
Mm-hmm.
onto the flurry combos, and so that actually increases to a total of about 7%. I think it's like 7.1% or something like that. But it'll add that percentage to each stack. Okay, so don't think it's an overall percentage once you reach total max stats.
Right.
Uh, it'll actually add it separately, so that's how you get that plus 7%, which is very good. Because it adds to the scaling of your P attack, so that's very important.
Okay. Nice. So jumping from the PvE build, we got basically the dungeon build, the gods one that you sent over.
Yes.
And that one's you said I remember the recording you sent me. That one was mostly for like running the harder challenge modes of those dungeons, right? That's
Correct.
okay.
Correct. Now, this will look very similar to the PvP build. This is just more sustain,
Mm-hmm.
just to basically tank out those bosses because I mean lately they've been getting very hard to where they're just wiping out players just automatically.
Right.
I've noticed that on this Nightmare Doom dungeon, it's just been wiping out players more than the other dungeon from Gods, uh,
Hmm.
and so this will help to
It
just
just
kind of like
adds a little bit more survivability and focuses on the health of your Titan and everything,
correct,
and
correct,
getting it back
yeah,
faster if you do happen to lose it. And I think wait,
yeah.
doesn't nano repair? Oh wait, no. The secondary effect is it just automatically starts you with 40% energy after it revives. Okay.
Well, nano repair basically once you can get that talent going, it just
Mm-hmm.
acts like an engine. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
so basically, you'll be able to get into your mecha a whole lot much more faster once you basically once the mecha dies off the first time. That's when the engine will start from there. So
Okay, and it just continually feeds into itself
yeah,
and everything. I
yep,
got you. I get you. All right. And then the talents themselves are pretty similar on this one. We've again shifted over from being on the blue side, and just picking up that extra efficiency in the middle.
correct, correct. And then of course we are utilizing Dustbuster. Just to clarify on that,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like a double-edged sword, but I'm not doing it so much because of the amount of damage that I'm losing on my end.
Right.
I'm more doing it for the damage reduction that it's boosting me for. So that's really what I would recommend players to be using. Is just to kind of focus more on the damage reduction than the amount of damage that you'll be losing.
Got you. And I think
And then
once
of
you get
course you
that
gain a
leveled up
speed.
high, the cooldown on it's crazy low, isn't it?
Yes. Yes. As you can see here, it's a level 5, and that's because I have the Drac, the orange one, an ancient.
Something whispers. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah, Whispers of the Ancient.
Yeah,
Now there
yeah,
are
yeah, yeah, yeah.
three different sorts of Dracs to that. You have like the purple one, the orange, and the gold one. So basically, the purple one increases you 1 level on your X skills. The orange one increases 2, as you can see on here, and then the third one increases 3 levels. So if you can score that, that would be really helpful for beginning and I guess middle game. End game, of course, you would want to switch that out once you reach max X skills separately from the help of the Drac, just
Mm-hmm.
because at that point it won't do nothing for you, you know. But as of right
Nice.
now, it is very useful if you can get any one of those.
Well, there are certain EX skills that if you go in and actually, let me see if I can pop back over to the game real quick so I can show you guys. Um, so there's certain ones that will only level up to level 6, but then if you have one of those Dracs, it's able to get a couple more levels on it. So like Dustbuster, for instance, if we look at the preview for that, um, we've got 2 additional layers, and it says somewhere on here that you essentially have to, oh, up here at the top, basically that you have to have one of those Dracs to even be able to get those additional layers. um
Oh, is that what it's saying? Like it's making a requirement to be able to see the other levels?
yeah, you used to just see up to level 6 and everything, but if you look in the EX preview now, it'll show the additional ones and the effects that you can get from that.
Oh,
um
okay. Well, that's very useful information. I just couldn't notice it as much because I have it equipped, so I can't see
mhm.
what a player would be seeing if they don't have it.
Got you. But yeah, no, it you definitely want to keep your eye out for some of those skills and everything, because it's not all of them that have it. But other certain ones like Vortex, once you start getting it up, can have really strong buffs to your CDR and everything like that. So
Correct.
definitely don't overlook those. All right, let's go ahead and pop it back to the slides. All right. Um, Next one we've got is the world boss build. See what you anything super special to touch on with this one?
So just to clarify real quick, as you can see here for the talents, I have recommended to go with Nano Repair. Now this build that you see originally is just if you want to AFK the world bosses. Uh, there have been some players that have told me that they did not know whatsoever that you could still gain the rewards by being within the vicinity of the world boss.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that, I guess for those that really don't quite understand, is that you could just stand to a side while everybody else is fighting the world boss, and once it's killed, you'll just get the rewards. But if you want to participate, um, this is not necessarily the build that you would want to go with. This is just well, I mean, it
Decent
is,
AFK
but if you want
farming,
to
but
AFK the in participation. Now, if you want to manually play, to just basically get it done and over with,
mm-hmm.
because of course every bit of damage does count towards the world boss. So if the more people help out each other, the better it'll go.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
everybody can just move on with their day. So I would switch out Nano Repair with Globe, and everything else would just be just right on this build.
Okay,
That would just be the only slight adjustment.
nice. And then lastly, we've got the PvP build and the updated PvP build.
Correct. Yes, the updated PvP build.
So this one you actually do go back into investing in the blue side of the talent tree, I see.
Yes, yes. And this is more to counter uh, classes such as the Reaper and, of course, Assassin and Soul Dancer.
Mm-hmm.
I did have this. It was, well, I would say it was very much the same as what you could see on the other video.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, this is the only adjustment that I've made, if everything seems to be quite accurate, is Tyrant's Eye. Now, for those of you that don't know what Tyrant's Eye can do at a level 5, um, it gives you a buff. It gives you like I believe it's a 3-minute buff So basically, you could pretty much spam the X skill and never lose the buff. And what that buff offers is an efficiency boost, or yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
believe it's an efficiency boost of 20%. Now, it's not a whole lot, but it does combo off with the well, not the efficiency, it's the endurance. I believe
Yeah,
I
it's endurance
mistaken that.
restores
Yeah, it's the
speed by
endurance, not the efficiency.
20%, and then also dodge percent by 10%.
Yes. So you're getting the 100% off every single time that you activate the skill Flying Swallow. And
Mm-hmm.
then if you also activate that Tyrant's Eye from X skill, you'll get that 20% for the next 3 minutes. And so if you see the the CD cooldown, or yeah, just the cooldown from Tyrant's Eye, it's 75 seconds, I believe. So
Right.
pretty much by the time that ends,
You've got it back
you'll
up
be able to
again.
activate it right back again and keep that
Nice.
buff going.
Nice. And then I was just looking at what it looks like on level 7, and it looks like it gets a crit and CD buff on it too, as well as
Yes.
a extra move speed
The
buff. That's
also
oof.
it also buffs your dodge. It gives you a 10% increase on your dodge chance. So that
Mm-hmm.
also goes very well with the 8% dodge chance that you get for activating giant strength, which some people know it as Vajra power. So it goes very well, in comboing with certain talent points that we have here.
I gotcha. I gotcha. All right, and then anything else you want to touch on the PvP build before we move on to the kind of stats for the different builds and what we want to focus on there?
Oh, yes, yes. The very most important thing that I wanted to discuss about is, I, of course, we've had a lot of people, ask how it is that we can counter Reapers, okay, the
Mm-hmm.
Reaper class.
Yeah,
And
they be a little
so,
slippery. They be a little slippery.
yeah, there's a different variation that you could go with the X skills, and that is Minefield. Okay, now I did want to, just bring that up very quick, what Minefield can do, because it also combos off very well with a talent, a deep talent here, that offers a chance for paralysis. Now, you would want to increase that all the way to 100% to get that off every single time.
Mm-hmm.
As to what domain stand means, I mean, I have no clue. I've been trying to do a bunch of research on what exactly domain stand is, or whether if it's a skill or not. I don't know if you know much about it, Petty, or if you have information on what could possibly be,
Hmm.
or you're just completely clueless as I am as well. What domain stand is. Uh, I'm assuming it has to do something with the mecha. Okay, as the best assumption, I'm thinking it has to do maybe with suppression or maybe with EMP, because
Mm-hmm.
it talks about something about explosion. So it has to do either with the barrage of missiles coming from one of the skills, whether you're outside of the mecha or inside of the mecha, or it has to do with EMP, because those are the only
Right.
explosions that I could detect on skills for what domain stand could possibly be. Uh, so that
Hmm. Is that one of the
paralysis
things in the
basically
talents?
works. Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
Oh no, I was saying it was domain stance one of the things in the talents. I was just looking at the EX and didn't see it in there for minefield, so I was just trying to find what you were talking about.
Oh no, it's under the deep talent for it describes domain stand. For Minefield, it offers a silence and it basically traps the player.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when, and of course, you don't have CC immunity. So you want to be very careful when activating Minefield on players, because of course, if you activate it, let's just say on a class like Blade Master, it'll be a waste of an X skill for them, just
Right.
because they tend to use their buff on the CC Mini and Super Armor to just negate almost all sort of CC.
Nice.
So for a Reaper class, okay, one that doesn't necessarily have that much, I guess you could say, sustain or defenses in the areas of CC immunity and super armor. Minefield would be very good, good to use against them, as well with soul dancers and of course gunslingers, but more towards
Nice.
Reaper class, just because it
They have so
the
many ways
saber's
to
here.
get out and keep getting away. I got
Yeah.
you. I got
So
you.
The difference between Minefield and Creed is that it traps the player, okay, and it as long as they are trapped within the area of effect for 2 seconds, I believe is what it says,
It's 2 or
they will
3
be silenced
seconds. It
for three
puts the silence
seconds.
on them. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So with Creed, you could walk out of the area of effect, and then of course the silence will go away, and it won't trap you. Okay, Creed doesn't do that. With Minefield, you do get trapped. So basically, you can't move. You can't even use any skills other than just what you could use for yourself. If you're trying to use any sort of skills to try to get out of the area of effect, you'll basically be negated.
Right, right, because the
So
skill itself's being stopped, so they can't like teleport out of that and everything because their teleport
yeah, no,
skill's
you'll see
silenced.
your skills. Like
Mm-hmm.
they will
Yeah,
show
yeah, no, I
as
get what you're
being
saying.
that you can use them, but you can't use any sort of skill to get out of the area of effect. So you're trapped.
Okay. I feel
So
you. I feel you. Let's go ahead and get on to the beginner's DPS build, where we start getting into like the sets, the subs, the cores, and everything like that. And one thing that I want to mention that I don't think we've really touched on yet in this video is there is a soft cap for CDR for fighters. You want to shoot for around 40 to 45k, and depending on how close you're getting to that or where you're falling on that scale is going to kind of influence what you're able to do build wise. So if you're not at that point yet, this is the build that you want to be going for to try and maximize that CDR and get it up to that cap. So obviously we're going, 9 blue, 5 fire for the core, 2 decks, or sorry, 2 wind. I always call them decks. Really, I think the most important things to focus on here would be the subs that you're looking for in that instance. You really want to get your CDR. I call it inspiration every time, but it's not insight. Someone just corrected me on that in the video the other day.
uh, I've heard a lot of players call it inspiration. I
I
mean,
think.
honestly, with so many I guess incorrections in grammar and spelling and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
and translations. I mean, it could be either insight or inspiration.
Yeah, we'll just call them ins for right now. You want to get that ins, baby.
Yeah, yeah. Let's just call it ins. Let's just
Right,
call it
right.
ins.
Just make it nice and easy right now. And
Yeah.
then after you are doing all that you can to go for those stats and try and get yourself up to that CDR soft cap, then you start trying to focus on what you would assume to be your typical things that you would look for in a melee class: your physical attack, your AP, strength, fire attack. Um, you know, then you would be looking for your DPS specs. And then I am covering up the very bottom of the sets. But do you want to touch on why you would be going for 6 berserkers instead of the 6 wolves in this instance?
Six berserkers. I'm not necessarily focusing on the effect of what it gives
Mm-hmm.
to the player. And I noticed that on a previous video you had just made, I believe it was yesterday, you had touched base on the effects of
Mm-hmm.
what these
Going over the
runes or these
sets and
sets can do.
everything.
And so I'm not going based off of that. I'm going based off of the amount of the attribute that you gain from activating, I guess, each one of these pieces of gear.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, with that, it'll offer CDR, which is very important. That's kind of what I was going with.
Yeah, yeah.
Trying to target berserkers might just go the full 6, and then, of course, Wolf Scheme, just going 4 off of on it, which that just only targets strength. So you're only getting what P attack and AP from there. You're not necessarily getting any
You're getting a
CDR.
little bit of, you're essentially just getting offensive stats from that. But yeah, berserkers
Yes,
gives the ins that we're looking for, and that's again if you are under that soft cap. Um,
correct.
so I mean,
Now, I'm not
pretty.
saying that Berserker's Might isn't wrong if you're trying to look for the effect in it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just saying that I would I would I would choose Wolf Scheme over Berserker's Might, but still using both. Okay, if you're
Mm-hmm.
trying to go for a DPS route, in which we will mention here in a little bit.
Yeah, I think the next slide that we have is going to be the advanced one, where it's like, okay, you've met the CDR threshold. Let's actually go ahead and just bounce forward to that. Yeah, and it's got the going 6 wolves and then still picking up 4 berserkers and everything, because it's still going to give you good benefit.
Correct, correct.
Then another thing when it comes to I've went ahead and switched over to the advanced DPS slide. So we've got 9 fire for the core, 5 dexterity, and then 2 water. And this is again if you've met the soft cap and everything. You want to transition your core being more focused to getting more damage out instead of anything else.
Yep. That's what we're aiming for on this build, is just the most that we can get out of damage.
Trying to get them high numbers, baby. And then all the subs are ones that make a whole lot of sense. Physical attack, AP, crit, MS, strength, and then fire attack. Yeah, all that's pretty straightforward. I will say that MS, when I first switched over to fighter, I was an assassin previously, so my MS was through the roof. And I don't know if it's just the number of hits or the number of AoE hits that fighters are capable of, but I was seeing a disgusting amount of multi-strikes popping up. So I begrudgingly transferred some of that MS over, but I still probably have a little bit higher MS than I do crit. It's maybe CDR, but I'm working on switching my CDR over.
Yeah, no. So I would say this as a tip. For classes that use AoE, well, I mean, from my own understanding, this is how I perceive this.
Mm-hmm.
For classes that use a lot of AoE, I guess skills or have abilities that focus in AoE, that's when I would utilize MS the most. So of course you have assassin that just targets MS like maybe no other class does, and then you have fighter that I would say comes in, I think I would say second, and then
they definitely do good with it. I don't think gunslingers or I think soul dancers might benefit a little bit more from it than gunslingers might. But definitely
I think fighter,
assassins for sure, definitely fighters for sure. Scythe a little bit. They almost walk that line where it's almost not all that useful for them. Like some of the other classes, like Blade Master definitely doesn't need to worry about MS at all. Unless
No.
you are a god king of positioning yourself to make sure that you're getting every potential AoE hit you can, then maybe for with that 5D chest that you're playing, go ahead and go for a little MS. But definitely would be towards the bottom of the barrel for those guys, but definitely does a little bit of work for fighters. And then I think that covers everything for that. So now let's get into the tank build a little bit. So I went ahead and included 2 different things on this one in terms of subs, because you had 2 different kind of tank builds where really the only thing that varied was the subs that you were going for. So I kind of slid them into the same slide on this one. But we've got 9 wind gems, 5 blue, and then, or not wind gems, excuse me, 9 earth gems. Woo! I don't know why every time I see the the yellow, it throws me off, and I want to call them wind. I don't know what game I'm blaming that for in my past, but something's in there with that association. And then 2 fire, so nothing super crazy. Because you're going more for a tanky build, I'm assuming is why you're leaning towards more inspiration and everything, just because that gives you your cooldowns more often. And if you're already living longer, having more access to your skills is just going to feed into that, and help each other down the road, and never dying and just pissing people off.
Yeah, that was the whole purpose of utilizing 5 ins gems, and placement of the fire was, as you mentioned, just for the CDR. And so, from what I have noticed in just experimenting with CDR, once you reached the soft cap, it seems that for about an approximation for every 10,000 points of CDR, it decreases the second or a second from your skills. So, I mean, I would honestly recommend this sort of build, sort of tank build. I guess once you've reached high enough high enough stats under your cores, and so pretty much I would say somewhere between the lines of maybe level 15, 16 core gems. And that's probably when I would start trying to use this defensive build. Just because you'll start seeing just ridiculous high numbers in your core
Right.
gems, and then of course you will have other what would you call it? You would have other features in the game to also help this out to increase those
Right, you'd
attributes.
already be getting a substantial amount of stats from other places in the game and everything. So
Exactly,
this isn't
exactly.
one that, that maybe there's a few whales out there with the right gear that they've been stacking all defense. They might be able to pull
Right,
this off
right.
right
I mean,
now.
I was told, if it's very important to build
Hmm.
defense. Uh, and so this is also another tip or a hint for those of you that didn't know that there is a certain percentage that the mecha takes from the player or from the character. And I don't know if it takes the defenses, but I know it takes the HP for sure. So the more HP your character has, the more HP it'll give your mecha. And so of
Right.
course the more it'll live.
Yeah.
So this is a very important build for your mecha. So if you kind of want to just want to simplify exactly what kind of build this is for your mecha really. And
Right.
uh and so the reason why I didn't go with 6 on the reviving Ouroboros instead of the 4 that we have showing here is because that shield that it gives, even though it's a good amount of points that absorbs, what is it, 720,000? I mean, we have
Hmm.
already quite a few players that are able to just knock that shield off within about 1 or 2 hits, and so
Right.
basically, I see it useless to go for the shield.
And especially if you're already utilizing, someone like Luminous and everything, is like if that's gonna help you and save you, it's got a very slim chance to do so. But the amount of benefit that you get from not being able to be critted on, and however often that is triggering from the troll set, that's gonna make it very difficult to get around, all of the survivability that you've already built into your character, and then stacking something like that on top is just like, having lead lining around your house that you're already made of brick with rebar inside of it. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah, it's
all of
it's
these
almost
things are
like giving
pretty
you that
unnecessarily
lifetime
tough
warranty.
layers on their own. Yeah, and then we're just stacking more and more on top of each other. So definitely a good
Yeah,
thing to focus for there.
yeah, we just only went for exactly what reviving Ouroboros, does as an effect or gives the
Hmm.
player, for the effect, and of course that's just the second. Well, I call it a bit of a second life. It just makes you last a little bit longer, even though you'll probably die within the next, let's say, 5 seconds after that.
Yeah, that's I was really lucky. I think Luminous was my first 6 star that I pulled and everything. I was like, oh, this is gonna be amazing. That thing's like saved my life for 5 more seconds 3 times. Like
Yeah.
it did
But
not have
where
the
I would.
same impact as something like Ming, for instance. Oh, we still have to get to the allies, and we're almost at 40 minutes already. Woo! We gonna be setting
Yeah,
some
yeah, yeah.
channel records today, boy.
Yeah, no, just a quick tip. Where I would see this most effective for reviving Ouroboros is just in PvE, just because you
Hmm.
have bosses that just wipe you out even like while you're at 50 HP or a third of HP. So you'll see that more effective in PvE.
Yeah, and potentially if you miss some mechanic that you were supposed to dodge, this will give you, a second chance and try to get your stuff back together. So
Yeah.
I can definitely see that. I can definitely see that. Um, and then if you are so like we kind of just mainly talked about going for the pure tank build. There is a little section here for touching on if you're going for DPS tank, and really in terms of stat priorities, you're just fitting in physical and magical defense and crit resistance, right behind AP. So you're this would be more for if you're already the toughest thing to kill and you just want to see how many killing blows you can get in that arena match. um any comments on that?
No, is uh this is like if you just want to try like a tank DPS, just dish out, good amount of damage and at the same time, just sustaining in battle.
Hmm.
Uh, there's that uh, build for you if you
Yeah.
want to go that route. Just so you have something to work with instead of just thinking that, I mean, you only have just the tank build to just go off of. No, you could do tank DPS.
Now, if you were like trying to solo dungeons and everything, would that be another situation in which you might be looking for that build?
Yeah, yeah, it would be more towards the Dungeons God's Honor.
Okay,
Just being able to sustain more in those type of areas of the game.
I gotcha. And I think that goes over all. Look, snap, we're done the stats. Now we're on to was it allies? Yeah,
Yes.
allies. All right, so I am covering up Luminous's stats. Let me go ahead and just make myself Kilroy real quick. We're just kind of peeking down here. So these are, and we did this before when we did. I can't remember which ally video I did. I've only done a small handful of them, so there's not a million to go search through. But where we kind of go over and touch on some of the stats that you're seeing from these characters when they're fully advanced and leveled up to 100, 110, and everything. And some of this damage is pretty gross, pretty gross. Um, but I wanted to throw this up just so if you didn't see any of those videos, you can get kind of an idea of what these allies are doing towards endgame. Um, if we look over at our boy Ming, he's doing absolutely disgusting stuff. Almost 80,000 MS, and then almost just over 2,500 for all the other, or sorry, 25,000 for all the other stats. That's a big chunky increase right there. So it's just a little bit of perspective. I just want to give you guys the ability to be able to see what some of these stats look like at max level and everything. And then we'll go ahead and look at some of the different builds. So now we're on the one where we're looking at, like the CDR, sustained tank, CC, scaling DPS. You want to talk your way through some of these?
Yeah, these so just trying out different things.
Right.
This is just a guide for you guys to test out what fits best, for your fighting style, what you like to do. This is more generalized. This is not necessarily just for fighter. This is also if you're like a gunslinger or blade master, just basically any other
Okay,
class.
nice. Nice.
Besides the fighter, this is just something to help out players in general.
I gotcha. And just so for all those people that are kind of curious why what Chisei has a party hat on, that's to indicate he's supposed to be college Chisei, and I didn't have an image for that, so he got a party hat.
Yeah, and they have just recently came out with Chise again.
Mm-hmm.
So unfortunately, I wasn't able to get him or even get him onto the sliding shows.
Right, right.
But yeah, that's what he's supposed to symbolize. Is just the summer party, or no, the
Nice.
college. Sorry, it's the college.
Did you get college Erie just so I can know whether or not I need to cry myself to sleep tonight?
Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah,
I tried.
I have the college
I wasted some
theory.
Diamonds. I did 3 10 pulls, and I got Anjo, so I can't like complain.
Oh, that's good. That's really good.
Oh yeah, no, Anjo's dope. So I mean, because there's 2 classes where I really need something to help me make up for some CDR that I'm missing. So I was definitely happy to pull him, but man, I still want Eerie. Still out here with broke man Eries, the college Chime and Mai getting that crit damage buff.
Right, right.
So I mean nothing nothing too crazy. And things that I could see a couple of people having questions with might be Chime and Koshi. Koshi is, one of the few allies that has a 10-person CC ability. Regular Chisei is another with 10, and I want to say Anjo is the other one that has a 10-person hit CC ability on their ally. Am I missing
I
one?
believe so. If I'm not mistaken.
So
We look at this very, very quickly on here. If I can just like read the little small description.
Right.
I'm pretty sure he only hits up to 5. But I think there is another one. Um, another one that does hit the 10 if it's not Anju. Let's look at it real quick. So let's see.
His
No,
second
yeah,
skill,
he hits
he's got
5.
Koshi has a
No, yeah,
5
he
hit,
only
and then
hits
he's
5.
got a 10 hit.
Yeah.
His second skill, the EX Black Sun, that's the one that's a 10
Oh,
hit
it's
CC.
Eerie. Eerie's the one that goes for 10.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's X Judgment. Her X skill, she goes for 10. So on a DPS build, as for what I have for the which is just going DPS in general, but choosing more the allies for the right build. I have both Eerie, the original, and then of course I have the college Eerie, not the summer party Eerie. So don't get that mistaken with when you see the party hats. It doesn't symbolize summer party. None of them use the summer party allies whatsoever. It's either the originals or the college.
I think one of them on the next screen had the Party Luminous is where we got the party hat from.
Oh, right. Actually, yeah, you're
Mm-hmm.
right. I mistake. It's the only one that you'll see that will be a useful summer party ally is Luminous. So
Is
he
there a party
offers
Eerie?
CDR. Just I think it's about the same as Anju.
Oh, nice.
Uh, he also offers
His life
a
saving
shield in
thing.
addition to that. So
Nice.
that's as his ultimate is the shield and then the CDR that you gain from his passive. So you no longer will see the HP passive from the original. You will see the CDR passive.
That makes him a little bit better than the normal Luminous, in my opinion.
Yeah,
But
he does.
it's difficult because the allies outside, so the college ones and then the normal allies all work off the same upgrading stones for anyone that isn't aware, and then all of the party ones you have to get an extra party ally and dismantle it, and they have their own party shards that you then have to use. So that's why you don't see a whole lot of endgame people on the CN side using a whole bunch of different ones. Eerie is about one of the only allies that's consistently used, regardless if she's one of the special event ones or not. But most of them aren't worth the amount that it takes to upgrade them and get the full value out of them. So you'll see people opt to focus on the normal core allies or the college allies, because for whatever reason college allies also go off of the same basic shards. So just something for you guys to keep in mind if you're some of the newer SEA players or anything. Be careful about these events.
And just to touch upon an ally that you had just briefly mentioned is Coach Isugi, which he is the dad of Eerie, if you guys did not know that.
Oh no, spoilers! I haven't gotten that far yet.
Yeah, he is the dad, the ramen chef, or what they call on
the
some of
monster
the
has a
gossip
daddy.
events
That's beautiful.
that you have to do. They describe him as the ramen chef. But he is very useful, not just only because of his X or let's just say his ultimate. It's more for what he brings to the table when you combo him off with the rest of the ally build, because you gain, I believe, what is it, 15% of CDR stats. And I'm not necessarily sure what the V stands for in between the C and the R. Because it adds a different percentage when you look at it. It says 15, but then you actually look at the actual stat itself. It's increased, tremendously. For certain allies,
Right.
And so he is very good. In examples for what we have here, we have him with Eerie, and then we also have him with Anju. Now he offers believe, what is it? It says 50%, but when you actually look at the actual percentage when you have them equipped in the ally build, it'll show something much more higher. So basically, what that allows is for the ally, for what you have in the center, to be able to use his ultimate and his X more frequently than your other supporting allies. Now,
Nice.
you could see that there's a bit of a guide to be able to understand the allies on the top left corner. There's an exclamation point. You just click that. You'll see exactly what the allies do, such as proc rates. Not that they offer percentages, but what it mentions that it does for the ultimate skills, the special, and the X skills.
Gotcha.
And then for what it does for the supporting allies as well with what you have in the center. It offers just a short description.
Okay, nice. All right, and I think the last slide we have is just going over the two that are more defensive ally builds and everything. And we just see, Luminous showing up to the party here. Chisei, Chime, Ming, because Ming is Bay. And yeah, there's not a whole lot of variation. You give up one of your CC people for Anjo, but Anjo has CC himself, so you're not really missing anything there. You're just going for a little bit more CDR, correct?
Yeah, the difference between the both is just Chime. You have to understand that when I guess I could give it a bit of a spoiler, if on the video.
No,
But like
no
I said, you can
spoilers,
still
because
check
I.
it out just by clicking the exclamation point. But it does necessarily count a lot who you pick to have your center, because the proc rates for your center be much more higher than the ones that you have for your support.
Yeah, and they're the ones you actually get the passives from and everything too.
Yes, so their ultimates for whoever you have as a center proc
Oop, you're getting a little windy,
many
bud.
more times. I guess we could say within a minute's time. Because let's just say I'll use this as an example for what I could see using Ming. If I could get really good proc rates, since I have him as my center, I could get him off maybe 2, 3, or probably 3 best within a minute's time. And so his CD duration is 10 seconds. So within a minute's time, I could possibly get him 30 seconds. That's actually that's really good proc rates.
Nice.
So that's just an estimation for what you can see using these other allies as a center. So the CD duration, of course, will be different, just for what they state, for how long the effect lasts.
I gotcha. Yeah, my Ming is not anywhere near as grown up as yours.
And trust me. I'm not gonna lie. I did some risks. I was being too risky with trying to level off a lot of my allies. This is also another tip for those of you that want to know exactly, I guess, where to spend your money and where not to. With allies, I would choose one of these foundations to go with. And not necessarily try to target every other ally and try to get them all equal in levels. Okay, because what I was doing was I was basically trying to focus on the overall CP number instead of just going exactly for what the allies would give me, in effects and just whatnot. I mean, you could say I was just less educated,
right?
Until I started doing more investigation on how much of an effect these allies give, even though you'll have a low number under your CP overall under allies. Okay, that number doesn't mean anything really. Okay, so if you can get your allies all the way up to the roof, for whatever amount that you're willing to spend on the game, if you're planning to spend or if you're just planning to farm it out, just freely, I would focus on one of these foundations and just target on these allies for whatever foundation you plan to use, or comp. I call it foundation really because I mean,
Team
achieving
setup.
6 stars.
You can refer to it however you want. You know what I mean? But I feel you. Oop, still there, bud? Izzy. Oh Lord, I think we lost him, ladies and gentlemen. We're still in the call. Can you hear me, bud? Ruh-roh. All right, ladies and gentlemen. I think unfortunately we're gonna have to call it there since we just lost our boy. Hold on, let me turn my monitor on. Like I'm still in the call with him. I don't know what's happening right now. But oop, and of course that's not gonna come on. So yeah, I don't I have no idea what's happening here. Oh.
Anyways, did I did I
There you
did I
go.
did I
There you
cut
go.
out?
The man's back. The
Am
man's
I still
back.
here? Sorry.
Yeah, you're good, brother. You're good. So
Okay,
is
I
there any
apologize.
other like final notes or anything like that that you want to touch on?
No, I don't know if I necessarily cut out on when I was talking about it. I apologize.
Mm-hmm. No worries, man.
Uh, I don't know where did I leave off on, or did I mention everything that I needed to mention?
Um, I'm not sure. I started playing with my settings as soon as you went quiet, and I was like, "Ah, crap! What happened? What happened?" So I'm not sure where you
Uh,
stopped off on.
well, just rehashing on it, just super
Mm-hmm.
quick. It'll, like I said, this is just a pro tip, because we were just gonna touch,
Oh yeah, where
just,
to spend and everything like that.
yeah, we were just gonna briefly touch upon the builds or the foundations that you could be using, for the allies. Like I said, this is just for those of you that just want to grind it out, either
Mm-hmm.
the old-fashioned way or just want to, just risk it and spend a bit of money on it. Like I said, don't go crazy all over the
Yeah,
place.
be
Just
careful.
focus on one of these. And this will go a long ways.
Nice, nice. Yeah, what in the past I have cautioned people to a certain degree about, don't go crazy with 10 pulls and everything just because the amount of cost that they have, especially with the investment pack. Because I know when I first started playing, I probably did like 5 or 6 10 pulls and ate up like all of my investment pack just about. So it can be pretty expensive. So if you're a very early player, I definitely recommend you focus on getting all of your foundation stuff done, get your core solid, get your house in order. And then if you want to throw some money at allies and everything, it you definitely get some very very strong benefits from them. But if you are fresh out the gate, I'd probably wait a little bit.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah, I just do not, this is really the tip, okay? Just do not focus on the overall CP number that displays under the allies. Because as
Mm-hmm.
an example, if you have, let's just say, a total of, let's just say you have just six, one of these six allies, okay? It
Mm-hmm.
couldn't even, it doesn't even have to combo off on any of these foundations that we've given, or
Right.
builds for allies. It could be just something completely random. Like you could have Caesar, you could have Nona, whatnot. You know what I mean? But let's
Right.
just say you have them all to tier four, and you have them all at a level 100. Okay. Well, the other person that's focusing on leveling every single one, but doesn't necessarily have those allies up to a level 100, are going to be weaker than you. You would think that they should be stronger just because of the total CP number that it shows,
Mm-hmm.
but trust me, they are going to be weaker than you.
Nice. And it's those the power rating or CP numbers and everything that you see above the allies can be misleading because they also don't know how to weigh like the benefit of the skills and how strong some of the skills are compared to each other. If I had an ally that was the same level as my Ming, advanced to the same point, it would probably say they have a similar CP and everything. But the amount of buffs, that I'm getting from Ming at that point, which probably be several thousand, AP, CTR, one of those out of the four, that's going to be a lot better and more impactful than someone's skill that has hits 5 enemies and then does a little effect. You know what I mean? The game's going to rate them the kind of same. So that's just
Correct.
one instance in where you're not getting the full story when just looking at the CP numbers. And that's true in a lot of things in the game, not just allies.
Yeah,
That is true
CP
across the
isn't
board.
everything, fellas.
Yeah.
CP isn't everything.
But yeah, I think that just about covers it. And this is officially going to be the longest video on my channel because we are about 20 seconds away from it being an hour long.
Oh wow, okay, so the hour then.
Yeah,
Hour is just perfect.
yeah, nice, solid, beefy conversation about fighters. I really appreciate you joining me, man. I appreciate everyone that checked this out. I hope that you guys got something, got some good information out of this one. Anything else to add, brother?
No, this is all. I thank you for having me and talk about just everything in general. I hope this is very beneficial to everyone
Mm-hmm.
that will see this video. And if like mentioned, if you guys have questions, please join Petty's Discord. We have people helping there. Same with me. You'll see me there too. And then of course I'm from S1 Odin Abyss. Just for those that do not know, well, where we are from. I'm not just
Yeah,
only there, but of course
yeah. No,
Petty's
we're
there
we're
too.
both we're both on there. We're in the same
Yeah.
club, Epic Club. Appreciate you plugging my Discord, man.
Yep. Yep.
And yeah, I think we'll wrap it up here, folks. Thank you so much for stopping by today, and you're gonna have to catch you boy in the next one. Deuces.